What's up, fam? This is the day the Lord has made, and we're here to rejoice and be glad in it. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Hope TV on today. It's my prayer that you're having a beautiful day, that you're walking in the favor of God, that you're walking in faith and not fear, that you're exercising wisdom, and that you're living life to the best of your ability. We know we're in some perilous times, but we also know that our God is great, and He came that we might have life. Sent Christ that we can have life and have it more abundantly. And I pray that you're living the abundant life on today. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Hope TV on today. Some of you, this may be your first time. Others, you've been with us for a while. We've been doing media for a very long time, but we seriously ramped up our efforts for the pandemic. On March 19th, we had our first broadcast entitled Pastoring in a Pandemic. And from March 19th to right now, we now have 18 flagship shows. And in a little over 30 days, our programs have been viewed by over 5 million people via all of our cumulative platforms. And we're grateful. Your support means the world to us, and I appreciate you. And as you're watching now, if you've been blessed, or this is your first time, won't you consider following us at the Hope TV on all things social media, whether it be YouTube, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope. You can follow us at the Hope TV. You also can follow our church, House of Hope Atlanta, on YouTube, and House of Hope Atlanta on Facebook, House of Hope ATL on Instagram and Twitter. And if you're watching, won't you consider subscribing or liking the pages and sending them to a friend who you know can be empowered and impacted by it. It's very, very important for us that we minister to you from a spiritual, emotional / mental and physical perspective. All of our programming here is undergirded with an emphasis on faith, family, finances, fitness, our faculties, and interjecting some fellowship and some fun along the way. So if you've been blessed, drop us a line. Let us know where you're watching from, the city, state, and country, as we take your viewership and your support very, very seriously. So thank you so very much for your support. Today you're watching a broadcast that I love, a segment I love. This is called Man Cave. We actually started something called Man Cave 5, 6, 7 years ago at our church, if not longer, where our men would gather once a month, Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. and literally 300-400 brothers would show up once a month at 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning just for us to exchange and have dialogue. It was a place of real, relevant, and authentic conversations, and how many tremendous relationships have been forward since that time. And so I just want to thank the brothers who supported Man Cave. And so what we've done, we've taken our Man Cave concept and just brought it to media to allow you to be a part of our Man Cave conversations. And so if you know a brother, a friend, a grandfather, a nephew, a cousin, anybody who you know can be positively impacted, the Bible says it's good and pleasant for brethren to dwell together in unity. And there's some sisters who are watching just trying to figure out how men think or how to better minister to your significant other, who may be a man or a relative or friend. Then we invite you to take part of this as well. So it's not exclusive to men. We don't exclude the women, but it's a male-centered conversation. And of course, we also have a conversation for our ladies as well. That broadcast aired earlier. It's called Pink Table Talk. So the ladies had their time, and now the fellas are going to have their time. Today, our episode is unique because I've invited some very key people on our team who've been all invaluable in helping us to navigate through this pandemic. One is a blessing to us, to our ministry. He works behind the scenes, but in this particular pandemic, he's been working diligently to help us prepare food. He and his wife have prepared literally hundreds of meals for us to provide food to our first responders. And so that outreach piece, and also involved in the media piece. He's just a tremendous brother, a tremendous friend. So glad to have him. He represents the sweet couple here, John Stevens. What's up, John? How you doing, brother?
What's going on, Chief? What's going on, family?
Glad to have you here. Good to see you, man. And second, we have our
Good.
youth pastor, our new youth pastor. He hails to us. He, of course, from Atlanta, grew up in Columbus, and he's doing a Herculean of a job helping us with our No Cap Youth Chat. It's got a lot of major things happening with our kids ministry, doing stuff for our young adults, getting ready to host our first online 2K tournament. I mean, this guy's been busy working while maintaining his family. his beautiful wife and his children, and we're glad to have him here with us today, Pastor DeMarcus Smith. What's going on, Pastor D?
What's good on, Pastor Jeff? All is well so far, so good. I'm excited to be on with you, gentlemen.
Good to see you, man. Glad you're here. And last but not least, our outreach pastor, who has just been working tirelessly through this moment. It's been very tough on him. He buried his mother just a few weeks before coronavirus hit, but even through his grief and bereavement and pain, he's still been serving. Has served food to literally thousands of senior citizens, groceries we've been providing for them free of charge, and also helping to coordinate the outreach ministry in terms of our first responders, getting food to those doctors and nurses and administrators who work at the hospitals. He's our outreach pastor, congregational care department. I'm so happy to have him, Pastor Jeff Fauntleroy. What's going on, Jeffrey? How you doing, sir? Pastor Jeff?
Pastor, good to be here today.
Glad to have you all. Glad to have all three of you here. We want to talk about it because I've been getting a lot of calls from pastors and church leaders who just been asking me the question. They've been watching a lot of things we've been doing. They're like, man, how are you guys doing what you're doing, man? I'm really blown away. I mean, literally all over the world, pastors are calling me that I never thought I would hear from, saying, man, can you just please, I am literally talking to pastors every single day. Somebody's calling, texting, want to have some conversations to get some insight. So I want to start with you, Pastor Jeff. You've been helping on the front lines in a real way with the senior citizens piece, providing groceries, and now most recently providing food and some other stuff you have coming. Tell us what you're doing, how you're doing it, because it makes the men look good about church. But just tell us what you've been doing so far in the congregational care department.
Well, Pastor, every day it is an investigation, literally. It starts off with monitoring what the scientists are saying, what the politicians are saying, and then we look at the numbers to see what has happened based on decisions that were made a couple days ago. It's almost like what happens in coal mining when they send the canaries into the coal mines. When the canaries come out, you know it's safe to go in. When they don't come out, it's not safe. So based on that, that's how we have been operating as far as going back out, serving the public. We have been gradually venturing out. We served the first responders, but we did it in a very safe way. As far as going back out, we have another feeding coming up on next Thursday, and that will be a strategic action. We'll have people coming in at various times to make sure that we never have more than 5 or 6 people in one space at one time. So we're still monitoring how we operate, making sure that we're putting our volunteers in a safe space and the people that we serve in a safe space. We are meeting needs and solving problems. As I stated earlier, one of the problems that we're trying to solve is how do we meet the needs safely? So we're monitoring all of that, coming up with strategic ways to gradually introduce the outreach efforts that we would normally do back into play.
Let me ask you this question in terms of your volunteers, because I know here's what most people don't know. Well, some people do know about our church, but our church has always been very strong in outreach. I mean, for years. I mean, it's been a part of my ministry. My question to you, have you had difficulty in terms of volunteers, gathering volunteers since the COVID-19? Has your volunteer base dropped, or people are fearful in terms of coming out to help? Is there a difference now?
No, it's definitely a difference. They are fearful. They are watching to see what's going on. And our 30034 area code is one of those highly populated areas with COVID in DeKalb County. DeKalb County being number 2 in the state, Oakland County first. People are nervous and they're a little apprehensive. So it's been difficult to get volunteers, but we got a hardcore group that knows how to do safe distance. And we just work it out.
That's great. Pastor Lee, I want to change up for a minute. Your context, you're still serving in a major way, but it's a little different because you're trying to oversee youth and children, but you can't see them. So tell us how that's
Right.
been and how you navigate through it, you and your team. How you getting through this season?
Well, man, I wouldn't be able to get through it without the phenomenal team that I have, to be honest. We have definitely been working heavy behind the scenes. Every single week, we try to make sure that we're interacting with all of our students, whether that's through our group me, whether that's when we're on live every Sunday, Wednesday during our Zoom calls, reaching out to parents. We're getting calls, text messages, just making sure that we're touching them at least 2 to 3 times a week, if not more. And I would not be able to do it alone. I have a strong team that if I'm unavailable, they're able to reach out, get any information that's needed, talk to them, and get it to me as quickly as they can. If any of the parents reach out, I'm calling immediately just to see if I can do anything. We've gone to the great length of, if I got to cash out my babies, man, if I got to send them some money to go get them some snacks, I'll do it. So we've been really heavy with just staying active with them, staying in close communication with them, and making sure we're touching them at least 2, 3 times a week.
That's great. In terms of the parents, Pastor D, because you made a good point that parents are reaching out to you. If you had to juxtapose how parents reached out prior to COVID-19 versus how they're reaching out now, is there a difference? More calls, less calls, and what are the nature
Uh,
of those? What's the nature of those particular calls?
Well, we're getting prior to the COVID, I was still coming in, learning everybody, learning the parents, learning the students, and everybody was welcoming with open arms. Now, since the pandemic has occurred, we've gotten a lot more calls, specifically around my seniors, because a lot of them haven't really been handling it too well because what they planned out at the beginning of senior year does not look like senior year now, right? So, a lot of parents just like, hey, Pastor D, can you check in on them? Just make sure they good. As I see them, some of them kind of down, thinking about graduation and not being able to have it. And now we're starting to see some of our younger students are starting to be affected. Not to the extent like that they really understand how extreme the circumstances are, but they just tired of their parents and, and driving them insane. And so now we're behind the scenes creating stuff for them to where in the next week we'll start seeing them a whole lot more just so their parents got time to breathe. So we're getting a lot more calls, but we're excited for them because it just lets us get to hear their voices, even though we can't see them sometimes. And I think on the other end, it lets them know, hey, we still here, we still love you, we miss you greatly. And every time we end the call, we just say, look, we cannot wait to see you guys again.
That's great. John, let me ask you a question. I was at the church a few weeks ago, and Pastor Jeff, along with Pastor Sharice Cross, coordinating with M Universal Hospitals, North Decatur Road, and Hillendale. I walk into the atrium, our HF Shepherd Multiplex. I walk in, and I am greeted by a smorgasbord. I mean, just food everywhere. And I know that you and the sweet couple, you and your wife Ty, have a wonderful catering business. And shout out to the sweet couple, shout out to my sister Ty. But can you tell us, I mean, how that worked in terms of feeding hundreds of volunteers? I mean, not volunteers, but our first responders. How did that work in terms of your business and how you guys coordinate that? Because I think you got to do it again in a few days. How's that working?
Well, that partnership was amazing for us because that was the first time we've ever done that many, more of an assembly line. We've done big crowds like that before, but it was more, of them serving themselves. So for us in that instance, it was new. Uh, but the mere fact that we were able to give them options, they got chicken, they got fish that day, and I think you also had the veggie option. So with all that combined, and then be able to box it for them, so all the day had to do was literally take the food and go warm it. There was no other contamination, and even at the contamination piece, it's different working right now, especially in the food industry, because of course you always want to be safe and sanitary, but now you have to take extra precautions because you don't want to pass on COVID through food, of course. So that was very different for us, but we made it through, and thank God, nothing happened, and of course we're ready to do it again. It was something that we even gave back. We wouldn't charge it as much as we normally would have, but because of why we were doing it, we definitely wanted to give back in that sense as well.
So
Now, in terms of the first responders and those people being fed, how did you come up with that menu? Is that something you guys decided, or what are your plans on doing differently going forward the next time we got first responders?
Right. Well, the main thing is, of course, most people like chicken. Of course, you when you're feeding that many people, you always want to have two different entree options, and then you want to have, of course, a veggie option because some people don't eat meat at all. You want to stay away from a lot of your pastas and stuff because just different dietary needs. So it was strategic in for us getting a fish, a chicken, and a veggie because you can cover the biggest part of the gamut with those three. Beef, a lot of people don't do red meat, so it's strategic not doing red meat in that instance. And so once you do those three things, you can pretty much everybody can get something out of that, even if that's not necessarily what you desire at that point. And take it a little further, it was a free meal, so and it wasn't a hospital food. So a lot of people, we even got comments back saying, "Man, that food was delicious," and we hope y'all keep doing this.
That's awesome.
yes, sir.
Pastor Jeff, let me ask you this. In terms of COVID-19 outreach ministry, has this changed you? Has it changed your perspective? How are you different in terms of what you do now versus prior to COVID-19? Pastor Jeff.
Well, Reverend, everything that we do now is strategic. Nothing is just, hey, let's do this because, it looks good or, we want to do something nice. Everything now is strategic. Again, we are, it's like a war room and a boardroom after seeing the news and after studying the science. I talked to our coordinators and our leaders in that department, and we talk things out. The what ifs, if we could do this, if we can do that. We're trying to make connections. We even put out to our church leaders some other areas that are serving that can do it in a more strategic way than we can. So everything now is strategy, strategy, strategy. How do we get the biggest bang for our buck? How do we serve our community? How do we serve our congregation, but do it in a safe way so that no problems come up in our serving? So, and it's even impacted the way that we do our congregational care. We've got a funeral tomorrow, and I've been dealing with this family, and we've had to eliminate some of the things that we would normally do at a funeral because we have a limited amount of time, limited amount of people that we can have at the funeral, at the gravesite. So we had to eliminate some things that we would normally have, songs, poems, all that kind of stuff. You want to honor your family members, but unfortunately, we have to be careful in these times because one of the biggest outbreaks that is reported at the beginning of this COVID-19 happened at a funeral up in Athens, Georgia.
Wow.
Absolutely. Pastor D, let me ask you this question. Doing youth ministry, going to schools, bringing that fire and excitement, has it changed you? Has it changed your approach? Are you different now as a youth pastor prior to this whole thing?
Look, the walls closing in on me. I'm about to lose my mind. I am a extrovert, so not being able to be around people is driving me insane. And so I got all this stuff bottled up, and the only way I can take it out is like on our shows. So that's why people get all that high energy because I ain't got nowhere else to put it. So like right now, look, I'm just look. I ain't had no haircut, Pastor. Look at me. I got a whole fro going on, but I'm good. It ain't receding. I ain't losing it, so we good. But it's definitely I've been kind of zeroing it in now because I'm like, what can you take advantage of since you can't do what you love to do the way that you do it? And so now instead of looking at it one way, I've focused in on, okay, how do you become better? Just as DeMarcus, focusing on me first. How do you become better as a husband? How do you become better as a father? And it was one day I was on with Pastor Jeff. Me and him were just on a call, and I was outside teaching my son how to ride a bike, and it literally brought me to tears because I grew up without my father, and I was chopping it up with Pastor Jeff because I view him as one of those great leads. I respect him because he, since day one, just like you, Pastor, he'll call me, "Hey, bro, you need anything? You everything good?" And so, to like being able to now work on me as an individual in the different areas that I can has been amazing. But yet these walls won't stop closing in. And so just trying to take advantage of the things that I can take advantage of. That way, when we come out of this, instead of me coming out the same way I went in or coming out below the bar when I went in, I want to come out higher. So I was telling the students the other day, I done got that big Hebrew Greek book because I'm trying to study Hebrew and Greek. And I done opened it and closed it 72 times. So, but it's just trying to push to become better. And I told them by any means, even as a pastor, as a servant, a Christian, which is what we're pushing heavy with the students right now. Once we get out of this, we are going to be completely different and better than we ever were. But right, we got to come in the process. So far so good. I ain't putting no holes in the walls and I ain't ran away yet. So we good.
John, it's interesting because not only you have been helping out with the outreach piece, now we appreciate you guys for partnering with our men's ministry, the outreach ministry, our women's ministry to feed, and health and wellness ministry, I'm sorry, to feed those first responders. But you also been doing a whole lot in terms of our media ministry, Hope TV. I mean, it's been all hands on deck for you, John. People don't see you and the team, but you've been drafted in and pulled in to help serve. How's that experience been for you in terms of learning something new with this Hope TV piece?
Oh man, let me tell you something. It's been different, but at the same time, that's just who I am. I jump in anywhere and take the reins. But
Yeah.
what's interesting really is that it kind of went back to a previous job that I used to do. I used to work for a company called Streaming Faith, and they did a lot of the things that I'm having to do now for our ministry. So it kind of prepped me for that. Of course, I never knew at the time that we'd be dealing with something like this, but it taught me how to do the technical things on the background, in the background, as how to do, make the live broadcasts, and even doing websites and stuff. Now I've changed and started doing some websites and all that kind of stuff. So it makes me feel better because number one, I'm able to do something at home that that some people you could go out and do it, but I'm able to do it at home, so it makes it a whole lot easier. Being at home and going in my own little office and away from everybody. And I have a living room set up in my garage, and I tell them don't even come down there right now unless you're trying to get something, and go back out immediately because I got work to do. I got ministry to do. And on that same note, guys have been calling me because a lot of people know that some of the things that I do for you, they've been calling me asking the intricate parts of how are y'all, the questions they're probably asking you too is, how y'all doing this every day? What programs are y'all using? How are you doing what the back end of it? And I've been able to share with them that, but I told them, y'all just wait till we have this next NYM, sign up for this next NYM, and then we'll give you all
Yes,
that in
sir.
at one time.
Yes, sir.
It's amazing when I talk to all three of you, and it's kind of scary. I know it's God. It's as if, like you just said, John, you did work with Streaming Faith. which was about broadcasting ministries. I never saw that connection. You know, the things that Marcus has been doing, Pastor D's been doing, going to the schools, and his usage of social media. You know, all the while, you know, and now it's had to ramp up significantly, but he's been already, you know, versatile and gifted and knowledgeable. He's helping me with my social media. You, Pastor Jeff, we've been doing senior citizens food giveaways and the volunteerism and getting the outreach center together. You know, you've been organizing that forever. And it seems that all these things have come to bear at the same moment. So while this is a difficult moment, we're not totally lost without having any idea. I mean, we've never seen it before, but some churches, I know some pastors don't have a camera. They have a Facebook page. So while we're figuring it out, we do have some things that can help us figure it out. And you know, and I think that's just so important. And but what I want to close out by asking a couple of questions, because here's the thing that's very important to me, and I've been talking to pastors about it. We know how we've done church in the past.
Yep.
We know the adjustments that we're having to make right now, but we're having a few conversations about what this is going to look like on the back end. You know, I was talking to John Adolph yesterday at Beaumont, Texas. He called me and said, "Man, I appreciate everything you're doing, but I just got some questions for you." He said, "What's the strategy?" He said, "How are we going to have worship, you know, in light of social distancing? What does baptism look like? Baby dedications, passing the offering tray, passing communion. What are we going to do in light of all this as we go forward?" And so with that being said, I kind of want to ask you some questions. Have you had much time to think about what happens once this is all over and how the new norm will affect what you're doing? And maybe you haven't thought about it, but I just want to ask you out that question. And if so, what have you thought about it? Pastor Jeff?
Well, you hear me talk about strategic planning often. My last 10 years in law enforcement, I spent as a liaison with the United States Secret Service. So we always had large gatherings that dealt with large people, presidents, vice presidents, heads of states, all that kind of stuff. So we always had to plan out strategically for the safety of those and the people who were coming in. We had to make sure it was a sterile environment. So I'm back in that mode now. As we get back to church, we have to make sure that we have a sterile environment for those who are coming back in, our congregation. So I'm thinking about how is this taking place. We're going to have still safe distance seating. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm looking at it so that I can offer some details to that to help the organization. We've got to look at baptism. We've got to look at communion. All of those things need to be strategized now. We just can't look at it as normal church. Normal church is really one of the reasons that we are in the space that we're in now. So you can't go back to normal. Normal is no more. There's a new normal. And we have to think strategically. We've got to put our heads together and think about the safety of our congregation, of our staff, and how to keep people alive.
Pastor D, what about you? Have you given any thought? I mean, I know you want to get out the house, get out those walls from closing in on you, but do you think this is going to radically shift how you do? Is it going to change? Is it going to change what you do in terms of youth ministry?
Most definitely. I think all ministries as a whole, youth ministry, whatever ministry you are part of, I think what we're doing now from a virtual standpoint has to continue. So what we've been doing behind the scenes is we've been getting our camera crew together. We've got students who are fire with the camera. I've got students that are way better with social media than I am. And they're more up to date with all the different platforms. So what we've been doing is getting our team together, because one thing about me, when it comes to youth ministry, I come in the gate and say, this ain't my ministry. This is all about you. And so what is your vision for it? And we take all their visions and we create. And I've got some super dope students and talented. And so we've been taking advantage of their talents and saying, okay, so if we get back on Sundays, we got this camera set up. We got the 4K camera set up. We got the phone stuff set up for social media, because if you're unable to come physically, you still gonna get everything that we're able to offer. And even in terms of planning our trips now, we've made all of our adjustments for our trip. My team has been working heavy behind. Okay, we had to move our maxed out conference. So now, and I don't want to give it away, but we done moved it to another time. And but what we're doing is we are adapting, which everybody's gonna have to. But this whole virtual perspective, it has to keep going, and we just keep taking it up a notch. So we're training behind the scenes. We're getting our students prepared to put that work in. We even going to great lengths now to say, hey, some of y'all finna start teaching. So when I say we training, uh, and getting them prepared to now be and walk this Christian walk out. Because look, y'all said y'all want to be Christians and you believe. Now you finna actually have to take those steps and do it. And a lot of our students, one of the big things is they haven't had Pastor D or the people of the church as the crutch anymore, and now they actually having to take them steps. And I'm loving how they're calling and like, Pastor D, this is hard. I'm like, yeah, but you got it. Everybody is walking like you walking. Some of us had to go learn how to crawl again, but now we're able to do it on our own, and now add all of these, take advantage of just the internet, the virtual world, and now we're not in one location. Now we get to go all across the world. And the beautiful part is we done had so many testimonials and comments. We had people watching No Cap from California and sending us messages, and it's been absolutely amazing. So you gotta keep the momentum rolling, taking advantage of it, and look, it doesn't end. It won't end. So you just add this new platform on, and we keep rocking.
Have you heard from any other youth pastors in terms of what you're doing?
Yes, we had a couple of youth pastors reaching out to us about how we're creating, and how we are doing what we're doing. And my main thing is just look, Pastor Smith got me on go. He told me to do me, and that's all I'm doing. So my biggest thing to them is getting out their own way. Don't overthink it. Use what you got in your hands, and what you got in your hands are your students. This is their world, so you got to let them do them. And that's been one of the biggest pieces of advice I've been able to give them. And so now what we're seeing is, like, we did our Spirit Week with our students last week, and then you start to see a lot of the ministries do theirs, and so I love being in the forefront as far as the lead goes. But it's awesome to see the reflection of it. It's awesome to see how these other ministries are stepping up, and they're taking advantage of it too, because that's what's most important. We never gonna stop training up our students and preparing them, and so we've been loving it. We've been loving all the calls, been loving assisting them, and we just keep it rocking.
Man, thank you, John. And you've been drafted. You've been doing special projects for the church for a long time, and now you've been drafted in a more technical way. You always are more on the sales end and that part of distribution end. Now you're doing the technical aspects of this whole thing. What do you think it looks like for you going forward?
Well, get a lot of that liquid that's brown. I'm talking about a brown liquid. If we get more of that brown liquid, I think it'll be a little easier for me. Uh, I'm sorry. This is a church program. I'm sorry. But seriously though,
The walls closing in
what
on you.
what? Yeah, they closing in
We
now. The glass
almost
getting
made it.
smaller
We
and smaller.
almost made it.
I'm sorry, but let me get back on task. I apologize. What I'm gonna have to do first of all is dig deeper, because as Pastor D said, this ain't about to stop. So what I'm having to do now is learn these new platforms and make what I'm doing more automated, so that way we can gain more programs. Because I know, Pastor, you're not going to stop, and I know the goal is now more so a 24/7 network. So for us to be broadcasting 24/7, so I have to find out the best and economical way to broadcast 24/7 and to ingest new content and the live content as well.
Yes, sir.
So that's the main thing for me, is and even our websites, we have to, like Pastor D, they need a whole website dedicated just to youth ministry, and Pastor Jeff does too. So either we make our current website more robust, or we do a lot of individual websites. So I've just been thinking about that kind of stuff. Now, I probably just made a whole lot of more work for myself, but I've been thinking about that thing. But that's what it's going to take once we get out of this, because we can't go back to just
Right.
everybody's announcements going through one avenue. If you want to know
Yep.
about the youth ministry, you go to the youth page and everything is there for them. If you want to know what Pastor Jeff is doing, so you got to make it easier for your end user to get the information that they're looking for. They shouldn't have to, especially in this time, be looking for something on your site and can't find it. You've got to make it
Yes,
real
sir.
easy, because there's so many people out there giving content, making content. Everybody got a word to say from the Lord. Well, we're going to make it real easy when the Lord says something to them from our church, real easy for them to get what they need from us. So that's
Yes,
been my
sir.
goal, digging deeper and just making it easy on the end user.
Man, that's good.
Well, let me just first of all thank all of you, because you are amongst the team that's helping me, and people who know me. John knows me probably better than the rest of you because he's been around me since he was 18 years old. People know that I grind, and it's
Yes,
either
sir.
0 or it's 100. And when I grind at a very, very, very hard pace, and it's intense. And and this season has me in full grind mode. And it's like when I played basketball. I played guard, I played one, I played two, and you got to push the ball, and you got to push it. And
Right.
you pushing the ball, you got to have somebody who can run with you. You know what I mean? And you got different styles. You got the Boston Celtics who play half court, but you had Magic Johnson, the Lakers. It's fast break. And I'm kind of like, when it's season like this ain't a half court offense. You got to run because people are dying, and you got to make the adjustments. We're trying to stay in touch with our people. We haven't seen our people since March the 8th. You know what I mean? We got
Right.
staff, we got a mortgage. So, it's just like we in it, and it's sink or swim. But the way you guys have been able to grind and get in the trenches and run fast court, I can throw alley oop and you throw it to me, and we in this symmetry. And it feels so good to have somebody, Magic Johnson, who can throw it to James Worth or Byron Scott, or you
Yep.
got Kareem down there. It just makes a difference when you got somebody who can run with you. And you guys have made it so easy, because these areas, media outreach and youth, are like flagships, and they're very dear to my heart. And I believe without those things, you don't have a church. Without outreach ministry, without youth ministry, without media ministry, you don't have a church in the 21st century. And the fact that you
Yes,
guys
sir.
are intricate parts of all those realities and those ministries means the world to me, man. I just want to thank you. And hopefully the pastors who are watching, people who are watching, can hear what's going on, that we're in the trenches trying to make it through, trying to figure it out. Nobody has all the answers. We're figuring it out as we go. And you guys represent manhood and struggle and getting back up and persevering. And I just appreciate you for all you've said and all you've done. Anybody got anything you want to say as we get ready to log off? Anything you want to say to the interviewers? Anybody?
No, I think a lot of what you've done is rubbed off on a lot of people, because you're not just leading, but you right there in the trenches with us, and it's been super dope seeing the speed, seeing as we create, and just saying, look, we on go, and I'm loving it. It's me to step my game up. So right now, the best thing I can compare it to is that MJ doc right now. MJ, we already watching the documentary, baby. MJ's mentality. I know it don't rub off on y'all. His mentality, his own goal, and the way he influenced everybody around him, it feels like that. Even when old Dennis Rodman, he like everybody, like he had to get everybody straight, but they bought in. And because they bought in, that thing is moving. Right now, I'm seeing championships. So that's what we on. So I
Wow,
Yeah,
appreciate
that's
you. I
awesome.
appreciate
yeah. I
That's awesome,
appreciate you
man.
being open, man, to suggestions. You throw stuff out there, man, and I'm able to, get back to you and say, well, that sounds good, but let's try it this way. Or, hey, I got it. And you give me the room to put it together and do it. So, every day we're in the war room, man, checking out what's going
you.
on, strategizing, seeing how we could do this. And it's not a thing of if we're going to get it done, it's going to get done. But it's just a
Absolutely.
matter of
Yes, sir.
how we're going to do it
Yes,
where
sir.
everybody still lives.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And for me, right quick, and I'm gonna try to be as serious as I can when I say this. It's okay to fail, because even
Yeah.
in some of the stuff we've been doing, we've tried and it didn't work, and then we had to go back and adjust.
Yeah.
You know, even with me right now, I should have one of those little lights Pastor D got that's right here, the circle in your face. You know, it's that type thing that we have to do now that make our viewing easier and more palatable to the people. So
Yes, sir.
once you get your lighting right, once you get your cameras right, once you get all that right, and you get that little brown, you know, that little brown liquid, I think we'd be good to go. I think God favors all of that. I really do.
Close it in. Close it
Praise the
in.
Lord. Praise the Lord. But he won't put more
As
on you,
y'all can,
Doc, than you're able to bear.
as, as you can tell, family who's watching, you always need somebody that you can pray for who's in need of sanctification. And of course, out of these three, we know which one that needs extra prayer and extra oil. So in your prayer
It's me,
time,
oh Lord.
would you
It's
would you
me, oh
please call
Lord.
his name? Uh,
Now unto him.
But seriously, man, I thank y'all so much for what you're doing. I'm energized. I told Andre this morning. I said I feel like I'm a 19. I feel like I'm that 19-year-old pastor that's got the minister of music, the choir director, the Sunday school teacher, the preacher, the pianist, the lawn guy, the janitor, and the independent contractor. I feel like I'm all those guys. So I feel like these are unprecedented times, and pastors are saying, man, we just following your lead. So man, because every pastor is not creative. Every pastor doesn't have staff. So a lot of pastors saying, man, you do it. We pick what we can pick. So I feel like God has raised us to not just be a blessing to our media community, but also leave some crumbs for somebody else, because somebody left some crumbs for us. And what we're doing is blessing other pastors because they got some templates they can just take back to their churches, as you said earlier.
Right.
And so I feel like what we're doing is not just for us, but it's for the kingdom, because it's bigger than one church. And I want to thank y'all for being a part of a kingdom venture, not just the House of Hope. Great Travelers Rest, we've been around for 144 years this year. May 1876 is when our church got started. So we're 104 years old. But what we're doing is not just for Greater Travelers Rest, the House of Hope Atlanta. What we're doing is for the kingdom, because it's blessing people everywhere. So I want to thank you,
Yes,
fellas, for
sir.
all what you do in outreach, youth, young adult children, John, you in media, and with the help with the outreach ministry, because it's helping to make a difference, and people all over the world being blessed. So thank y'all, men, for serving, undergirding me, and holding my arms so I can do what God has called me to do. So those of you who are watching,
Yes, sir.
I want you to see some strong men who are in the trenches serving. Hear some of the stories, the different groups, and some of the challenges, and some of the perspectives. And I hope you've been blessed by it. If you're a pastor, share it with your outreach pastor, share it with your youth ministry, share it with your media team, so they can get some insight and get some inspiration. Because we can make it through this, but it's going to be a new normal. We got to recreate, rethink, we got to reimagine ministry, and we're all reimagining it together. So you've been watching Man Cave with some very strong men who are in the trenches trying to make this thing do what it do, so we can give God the glory and edify the people of God. So thank you for tuning in to the Hope TV Man Cave. We got to log off and close this broadcast now. But as always, remember this: if you will be good to God, then God will be good to you. You've been watching Man Cave. Until next time, peace. Thank you, fellas.